Gurinder, can you tell us what you're doing at the moment?
Right now, I'm very busy. I am working on the West End stage musical of Bend It Like Beckham. We're bringing that to the West End stage in May. So I'm in the middle of doing all the music and the dance, choreography, everything here at the studios. If you see any of my films, you'll see how music is so important to me in them. And so it sort of made sense then, moving into doing a full-on musical. But what's new for me is the theatre, is that it's my first sort of job as a theatre director. So although I am directing my own movie, it's still been a fantastic journey of learning of how you take something like a much-loved movie and turn it into a sort of stage musical. And what that's allowed me to do is sort of go back and examine the themes, and what really worked in the movie, examine that and re-look at that from a very theatrical point of view. And also with the music, what's great is, given that the themes of the film have sort of resonated with audiences globally, by taking some of those themes now and putting them to music and to songs, we're able to go much, much deeper. And so I think the musical is the film, but it isn't the film. It's a just sort of much deeper, sort of emotional version of the film. I'm British Buck was my first film, my very first film as a director. And what I set out to do was document the whole British Bhangra scene, which was this new sort of form of music, which was a fusion between sort of traditional Indian, sort of Punjabi Bhangra music with Western music. And it was happening in Southall, in London, where I grew up. It was happening in Birmingham. But it was very much a British Asian development, and so that was what I wanted to document. And in documenting the music, it really became much more of a film about identity. And it was the first film from a second generation British Asian point of view, where those of us, who are the sons and daughters of the first generation of immigrants, were really sort of claiming our identity as British. Bhaji on the Beach was my first feature film, and the amazing thing was I was the first Asian woman to direct a feature movie in Britain with that movie. And I think that we set it up as a kind of British comedy, in the vein of very sort of social realism sort of British movies. So it had sort of social issues, but also a kind of entertaining comedic kind of setup. But it really was a way for me to play with British cinema, but also a bit of Indian cinema in some of the sort of more Bollywood sequences. So I was referencing Indian films that not many people would know, really, but I knew them. But at the time, I was trying to be a bit different. But the film, I think, had a massive impact around the world because it was the first time people saw Indians with British accents, especially in America. People sort of found that very hard to kind of deal with. And so I think it really was the beginning of a whole genre of movies that came later about British Indians. Bend It Like Beckham is the film that I'm most known for, of course. The thing about Bend It Like Beckham is it's very, very personal to me because in many ways it became a film about me and my father. And my father died just before, I made the film and I was writing the film. And so I've poured a lot of my grief, and my love for my father into that film. And so that relationship, is quite emotional. But really it's about me growing up not wanting to be the perfect Indian girl who made sort of round chapatis and, and behaved in a particular sort of submissive way. And it was about me wanting to break the rules and bend the rules and change things. And I was able to do that because I had a father who was sort of very supportive of me. And so I think that the film is incredible how successful it was around the world, but I think that there was something about it that just sort of hit the notes for anybody who who had grown up wanting to do things differently from what their parents expected of them, but then finally got approval from their parents. For me, my experience was that my dad ultimately wanted, me to be happy. Although he would have liked me to have become a doctor or an accountant or like follow a traditional path, initially, I think in the end, as he got older, he realised that what was more important was that you were happy and fulfilled as a person, because what the community around you, what people around you might say, was, less and less significance, compared to your own happiness. Pride and Prejudice was my attempt at introducing Bollywood to a mainstream, non-Indian audience. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a Bollywood film that would be very accessible to people who didn't really know that genre. And I think that, we had so much fun making it. It was an incredible film to make. And I'm really pleased that it's very popular with young people, particularly young girls, who kind of love all the colours and stuff, but they also love the sort of feistiness of the girls. And I mean, that's a reoccurring theme for me, is sort of female empowerment, and girls sort of surprising you, and females sort of doing things out of the box of, what you're expecting. So I think Pride and Prejudice, was, but it's an amazing book as well. One mustn't forget what an amazing book it is that we were drawing from. And, I was very honoured to be made a lifetime member of the Jane Austen Society after making that film. So, it has, I mean, the other thing that I know now is that it's apparently the #1 sleepover movie for young girls in America, because they watch it and they learn all the songs and phonetically and the dance moves, and it's massive apparently. I see what I do as a sort of antidote, to the news, really, to what is out there, because the way the media is constructed, it is often it's the tragedies that make the news, but for so many of us, that life is beyond, just the tragic side of our lives. I mean, people might look at someone that looks like me and think, oh, my life's all about racism, but I have a very rich, fulfilled life beyond that. I'm not a negative person, and I'm generally an optimistic person, and I believe that there are more good people in the world than bad people, and I feel often, our default mechanism as humans is to be good, and I think that whilst I don't want to always shy away from sort of showing negativity, and I do often, but it's how you do it, Bend It Like Beckham is a film about racism, and it is a film about a father who was not able to fulfill his dreams because of racism. But if I go out and say I'm making a film about racism and here it is, everyone will go, oh God, but nobody will look at that film and say that's what that film's about, So it's sort of how you express yourself. I mean, my films are used in women's refuges. Bhaji on the Beach is used in women's refuges. Bend It Like Beckham is taught in schools, as part of the GCSE curriculum. So, I mean, they're social documents, they are social documents. My next film is called Viceroys House, and that is a departure from what I normally do. It's much more of a serious film. It's a political film. It is about the tragedy of partition, but it's told through an interesting device, through Viceroys House, where the Mountbattens came. And we follow the stories upstairs with the Mountbattens negotiating with Nehru and Gandhi and Jinnah, but we also follow the stories downstairs with the servants and the cooks and the translators and the valets, who are all trying to work out what's going on with their future. So it is a departure for me, and it's a film that I've been working on for 4 years, and it's a story that I really wanted to tell because that's my history. My parents, grandparents, were all caught up in partition, and my homeland was India, but it's now in Pakistan. Bonsoir, hello everybody. I'm so thrilled that you're getting a chance to watch all my films. I'm talking to you here from freezing cold London, and I'm sure the weather is equally cold there. Look, I'm so British, I'm talking about the weather. That's what we do. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there. Thank you so much for inviting me. But, you know, I'm with you in spirit. And of course, I'm there through all the films because they're so much about my personality. I hope you have a brilliant, brilliant time. And thank you once again to everybody who's made the festival possible and for all of you who've come and supported my work. Thank you very much.